Good afternoon, I'm Joyce Seidman.
I'm Peter Garred, and this is Futurescope. On today's program, we'll be looking at two different angles of photography. Our first topic is the Zeiss projector found at the Dow Planetarium.
And the Dow Planetarium has always been a large attraction here in Montreal. Our second topic today is holography, a process which uses a laser to produce three-dimensional photographs. We'll be back to take a more detailed look after this message. Montrealers have always been able to appreciate the entertainment value of the Dow Planetarium, but over the years, people have tended to overlook its scientific merits.
And if you've ever been inside the theater of the planetarium, you'll notice that there are many different projectors. The main attraction is the Zeiss projector, a very large machine which coordinates the rotation of the planets, the displacement of the stars, and the mythological characters. Futurescope's Jeannie Lee was there, and here's her report.
Nikolai Copernic. His discovery that the Earth revolves around the Sun was a landmark in modern astronomy. Amateur Copernics have been coming to Montreal's Dow Planetarium, itself a landmark, to gaze at the stars since 1966. However, few are aware of the many visual effects involved in producing a show. I'm inside the theater of the Dow Planetarium with Kenneth Chalk, who lectures here. Well, Ken, the first thing we notice here is a dome ceiling, which I believe is used as a screen.
That's right. I think the dome's an important feature of any planetarium, and I think it stems from the fact that when we go outside on a clear night, the sky itself appears to be a dome. It looks a bit like an igloo because of that brick structure. That's not really intentional, or it's not something that we would like to be there, but it's a result of the way it's built. If we made it out of any solid material, well, then we'd have problems, practical problems, with sound being reflected.
I understand there's projectors all along the side of the dome. What are they used for?
The additional projectors that are actually hidden behind the black fence that you see at the base of the dome are to provide special effects that, that help to make our presentations into something of a show and not just a formal lecture.
This console is where the whole show is controlled from?
It might look that way, but in fact, no, this is only a small part of the show.
Can you show us a little bit about these controls?
Surely. They're grouped in various ways. Different parts of the program come from different parts of the console, as it were, but I'll give you an idea of what some do. That series of big black knobs on the left-hand side of the lecturer's console serve to control special effects or even single slides in the show. The central part, which is really in front of the lecturer most of the time, contains the controls for the Zeiss projector. Dimmers to put on or off the stars, the sun, moon, planets, constellations. The right-hand side of the console contains special effects that are permanently installed and available for use at any time. One of these is a simulation of the entire solar system as it might appear from somewhere outside, so that you can see all the planets, including the Earth, moving in their orbits around the sun.
No tour of the planetarium is complete without talking about the big Zeiss projector. How big is this projector, Ken?
Well, it's as big as it looks. From one end to the other, it measures about 9 feet, and altogether it weighs over 2.5 tons.
Mm-hmm.
But in spite of its size, it's really a marvel of precision. It's built like a Swiss watch, and it has about 29,000 separate parts in it.
What are the functions of the various parts on it?
They serve to reproduce the various features of the sky. The two great big globes, for example, at the outer ends that give it its characteristic appearance, reproduce the stars. Each one contains a lamp at the center, and then projectors are arranged around that lamp and end in the sort of the ring-like structures that you can see on the globe. And each one covers a certain field or a certain region of the sky. Then the little tiny globes that are mounted at the very ends produce the mythological figures of the constellations. The two cages that you can see with gleaming brass inside them are responsible for producing the planets, which move relative to the stars. And the projectors inside those cages can turn separately, operated by special motors. the central hub contains all the motors and all the gearings, so that, well, from the console I just have to select a date, a time, a place on the Earth, and everything in the sky is correctly positioned.
Projectors in planetariums were originally used as teaching devices. Gradually, entertainment entered the picture, making a trip to the planetarium both fun and educational. For Futurescope, I'm Jeannie Lee.
Joining me now is Mr. Kenneth Chalk of the Dow Planetarium. Mr. Chalk, can you tell us, what is the Dow Planetarium doing for Montreal, basically? Why is it there? What is its purpose?
The planetarium is essentially an instrument of popular culture, a way of trying to bring science, astronomy in particular, to the public at a level that the non-specialist can understand.
Basically for anybody who is interested in astronomy or any science-related material?
We try to make our presentations accessible to, I would say, anyone, and try to make astronomy interesting for them, even if it's not a particular passion of theirs.
Are most of your projects oriented towards astronomy or stars, or what are your projects basically focusing on?
Oh, we cover a pretty wide range, but I suppose you could say that every program we do is astronomical in some way or another. I could give you a few examples of titles. In recent years, we've done a show called Jupiter Revisited, which was basically a result of the Voyager mission to Jupiter and its amazing observations and photographs, everything we found out about Jupiter and its system that we hadn't known. In a similar way, we've done shows dealing with particular planets, Mars, Venus, even the Earth itself. We had a program called The Earth Endangered, in which really we looked at a wide variety of things that you might call dangers, be they astronomical, the possibility of running into an asteroid, for example, or man-made, the dangers of pollution.
Are most of your slides, which I understand the Zeiss projector uses to project the image on the ceiling, are most of these slides actual slides of outer space, or are they recreations, simulation?
The slides that are in the Zeiss projector are simulations. They're computer-generated to represent all the stars visible to the naked eye in their correct places and at their correct brightnesses. So basically, what the projector is showing is a sky map, but a very realistic-looking one.
Have you ever been able to collect slides of actual voyages into space, either from some of the voyages that the United States have done, or any the USSR, for example?
We have a large collection of actual photographs. Some have come from space missions, some have come from observatories, photographs of distant celestial objects taken through large telescopes. And in the last few years, there's been an amazing number of color photographs that have finally become available as special techniques, special color emulsions have been developed. But on top of that, I think a good half of the images that we present are graphics in one form or another, maybe simple line graphics.
How do you produce these graphics?
We use the graphic arts studio that belongs to the city and serves various city needs besides our own.
Is that completely electronic now, or is that basically done by hand?
No, it's done by hand. We need for example, if we need a landscape, a 360-degree panoramic landscape around the base of the dome, we have to specify what we need, whether it's to be a country or a cityscape or some imaginary planet. Give the artist a few indications of how it has to look, and then he goes ahead and paints it as a strip in 12 segments, which we then photograph as 12 separate segments, carefully matched.
As a film strip, sort of all.
It seems to be all around you. Yeah.
I see. You mentioned something about asteroids. Must have been 5 or 6 years ago. There was a comet that went over Montreal. I can't remember the name of it.
I think you're probably thinking about Kohoutek in '74.
That would have been around then. Did you get any material, or were you able to gather information that you've either recently used in the Dow Planetarium or that you may be?
It's curious you should mention that, because Kohoutek itself was actually a bit of a disappointment to the public, because it never got very bright or very spectacular. It didn't live up to
The standard.
expectations. Astronomers found it fascinating simply because it didn't behave the way most comets behave. And yes, we've accumulated a great deal of information, and we just finished at the end of May a program about comets. Now our particular focus there was Halley's Comet and its next visit in 1985-86.
1985? Over Montreal or over Earth?
Over Earth. It'll be visible from most parts of the world except the extreme north.
I see. Very quickly, astronomy and astrology, is there any relation between the research that you're doing and, say, the horoscopes that people can read about in the paper?
I would say any relationship is a very superficial one.
Okay, well,
in a sense.
Thanks very much. We'll be back in just a moment with more on Futurescope. Our second topic for the day deals with the use of laser beams and their role in holography, a new form of photographic art.
Although it could be some time before photo albums are filled with holograms of vacationing families. In addition to being produced for artistic purposes, holograms could be used for effective advertising and in the film industry to replace costly location shots. Peter Bringolf is a leading Canadian researcher, and Futurescope's Leora Frucht spoke to him about the technicalities of holography.
Welcome to the elusive world of the third dimension, the world of holography. What you are seeing is a perfect recreation of a person in space, made by exposing a very sensitive film to a laser light. The key to understanding holography is knowing that when light waves meet, they form a pattern. This pattern is then captured on film. The concept was first elaborated by the scientist Dennis Gabor in 1947. But it wasn't until the invention of the laser in 1960 that holography became a reality.
Holography is a newer and better medium than any that mankind has known. These are the words of Peter Bringolf, one of Canada's leading experts in the field. He researches holography at Concordia University's Communication Department. Peter, can you tell us what kind of materials you need and what kind of knowledge you need to make a hologram?
You start off with the type of hologram we do here is the white light reflection hologram. And for this and other type of holograms, what you need is a basic vibration-proof area. In this case, we have a sandbox which is resting on inner tubes, which are inflated normally. And then we have about 400 pounds of dust-free silicon sand. That's the basics. And then you need a laser. In this application, we're using a helium neon laser, which is a low-power one. And then you just have a basic setup like this here is a front surface mirror. And then we put a spatial filter into the beam so that it cleans up the beam. That's the only reason for it. And a spreading lens so that we can evenly illuminate the area which we're going to use as a hologram. In this case, that little motor car here. And the holographic film, which is basically an ordinary type of film which has a bit of a higher resolving power than your normal Kodak film. But that's about it.
How does it compare in technique to, say, photography?
Only that we do develop the film in developer. That's where it actually ends and begins. Because what we do is we don't need a camera, we don't need apertures, we don't need lenses, and we don't need to focus anything. It's much easier done than that. You just take a holographic plate, stick it in front of the object, illuminate it, and then toss it into the developer. And it reproduces in 3 dimensions. So it is much superior to photography where you only have 2 dimensions.
Can we make one?
Sure, we can make one. All right, let's do one. So what we do is we line up the beam from the laser onto this front surface mirror. We shine it right through this spatial filter. It will diverge the beam a bit. And now we use this beam here of this mirror, and we evenly illuminate the object to be holographed, in this case the motor car. And now we stabilize the table just slightly by lifting it up, but don't let any laser light get through. 1001, 1002, and we have our hologram now. We'll take this and develop it in D19 for 5 minutes, and then wash it and rinse it. No stop or fix is necessary.
So this is it.
That's right. It's a finished product of a hologram, and if you look at it, it's just a glass plate, and when I bounce the light off at the proper angle, you can see that the image will just pop into being behind the glass plate, actually.
That's amazing. It's like a work of art. It seems to also have a greater depth than some of the others. Is that so?
Yeah, it is. I think that's the largest depth I've ever produced, and the reason it looks so different than the other ones is that it protrudes from the plate. The other holograms are all behind the plate, so we're talking about the orthoscopic image. This is a pseudoscopic image, and it's coming right out. It's coming out to here, which is about 8 inches.
So there'll be no economic problems with your holograms, no shortage of money?
The way I'm looking at it right now, there's no shortage of money here, that's for sure.
Holography is still a fairly new field, but its possibilities are staggering. In a few minutes, we'll talk to Peter in our studio about the applications of holography, present and future. I'm Leora Frucht at the Communications Department of Concordia University.
Joining me now is Peter Bringoff, who is a holographer. Welcome, Peter.
Hello, Karen.
In an article you wrote for the Canadian Journal of Communications, you said that holography could revolutionize the media field much in the same way that television did. Now, how might this happen?
Same way as television did. It had a very strong impact on the entire society, not only North American, but also European society. By that, I mean that people stayed away from the cinemas, they stayed away from the theaters, and that was a direct felt reaction to it. And then the children sort of became very much involved in watching television rather than playing in the playgrounds. And I feel that holography, though, will have a different reaction. It will have a tremendous impact, but the impact will be a more positive one because we'll be using the media in a active way, not in a passive way. Television, you watch. You sit there and you watch it. But holography, you can interact with. And I see very positive in that direction.
Might it become a part of our everyday life the way television did?
Oh, I certainly hope so.
How will that happen?
The way it will happen is that we, for instance, will be able to represent the reality the way it's supposed to be done. If we look back in the past when the painters and the sculptors were trying to capture reality, one of the examples is Night Watch. It's a beautiful painting by Rembrandt, and there is a 3D inbuilt in that painting. So they try to capture a 3D reality, and we're trying to do that in photography, in cinematography, and in anything today. But now we have holography, and I think that we can now truly represent the reality.
So what is the difference between holography and three-dimensional films or photography?
Oh, well, three-dimensional film is just an optical illusion, which has also an adverse reaction to your optic nervous system. That's why you get a headache after about 2 minutes of watching this thing. It's just taking 2 images, putting another face, and so you get the optical illusion of 3D. But holography is indeed a true representation. You could almost say a photonic cloning.
Mm-hmm. Now, in Greek, holography means the whole message. Is this supposed to imply that it could one day be the ultimate means of communication?
Yeah, I hope so. I truly hope so, because there's much more to holography than what we make it out to be right now. It's a scientific field. We have to realize that. And we have to also realize that we are just at the very first stage of actually applying holography to the media field through advertising or whatever it should be. When we go into the future aspects of holography and its application, we didn't couple them with computers and with other art and media forms and technological forms. You could very well say that this will be probably the most powerful thing that ever happened to us. When we think in terms of the future 25, 30 years from now, I don't think it is inconceivable that I can give an interview like this here in 3D. People will perceive it in 3D in their living room, but I wouldn't even have to come to a studio to have it taped. It could be very well done from my Laurentian resort or wherever I happen to be.
So it has the potential to really change our lives?
It certainly does, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you feel that could happen in about 25 years?
I just picked a figure. I would say 25 years is a reasonable time. Now, we don't know what the economic situation will be and where we end up through various crises or whatever. But if we progress the way we have progressed, and if we look at a parallel of the space research, for instance, I'd say 25 years is a conservative estimation, yeah.
How expensive would it be for someone to produce a hologram?
Just a ordinary type of hologram. We talked about before the white light reflection hologram, portraits and stuff like that. We're talking about custom-made holograms. They can vary from $10 to $2,000 depending on how big they need to be done and what is involved. Is there motion involved in it, or is there a special application for it? So.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be with us. We'll be back for more Futurescope after this message. If you've ever looked into a bus late at night, you may have noticed that it's almost empty. The MUCTC wants to implement a new program that will help cut unnecessary gasoline costs.
The minibus may be transporting people along the quieter bus routes of Montreal. The minibus will be holding up to 5 passengers and traveling the regular bus routes during the off hours. I'm Peter Garred.
I'm Karen Joyce Seidman. Join us again on Futurescope.